right, we are live. We're gonna kind of hold pat for a little bit, give participants an opportunity to sign in. And for those who are signing in now, I guess I'll say this again at some point, but hello everyone, congratulations. Thank you for joining tonight. My name is Mr. Dignard. I work in the admission office, and I was one of the members of the committee that worked most closely with all the newly admitted 10th graders. So it's really exciting that we're all here right now. Last year at this time, like many of you, I was stuck indoors. And so as I was thinking about this webinar tonight, I was like, you know what? Wouldn't it be awesome if I did this outside? And I'm just fortunate enough to live right in the center of campus. So if I move my screen over here, this is my house, Foxcroft Hall, which I've called home for the past 9 years. And so I decided I'd come out, and you can actually see, this is a live background. It's not fake. And these are the kids in Foxcroft who are enjoying this beautiful weather. It's basically been the nicest March on campus for as long as I can remember. Okay, so people are still chiming in. And while people are chiming in, maybe I'll show you a little bit of where I am, because I'm sitting right in the center of campus. For those, how about this, a little trivia question. Anyone put in the chat, anyone name what this building is behind me? And I think, oh, excuse me, there's a bug here. Not Presky Commons, but close. Any of our any of our panelists, you want to let everyone know what the building is behind me? Samuel, yes, Samuel Phillips Hall. We got one. William Lee is correct. This is Samuel Phillips Hall, which is the largest academic building on campus. It actually looks out into this incredible vista. I'll turn my computer around just for a second. And on a really, really clear day, you can see all the way out into the hills of western Massachusetts when you stand on the steps of Samuel Phillips Hall. It's known as Sam Phil around here. All right, so it looks like we have a bunch of people here, which is great. And I think the real value in these events is to hear from current students. And we're lucky enough to be joined by 4 of them. And like you, let's say 3 or 4 years ago, is it 4 years ago now, Ethan? 3 years ago, they were sitting in the exact same place you were, thinking about whether or not they would join Andover as new 10th graders. And I'd love for them to introduce themselves and maybe just give a little bit of a sense of what you do on campus and what made you choose to come to Andover. And while they're introducing themselves, we'd love for you to start putting questions into the chat so that I can ask them to our panelists. Okay, let's go Ethan, Lola, Owen, Kennedy. How's that sound? Good. Ethan, take it away.
Hi, I'm Ethan Elswag. I am currently a senior, but I was a new lower, and I'm from Florida and North Carolina. I lived in Foxcroft with Mr. Dignard my entire time at Andover. Little changes this term, but on campus, I was an editor at the Philippian for photography. The board has since turned over. I work with admissions, the Jewish Student Union, and yeah. The reason I came to Andover, I'd say would definitely be the people, because when I visited, it was pretty clear that everyone here is really looking out for you. Everyone was very smart, and everyone was also super nice. And then also the opportunities, everything you can do on campus between the classes, extracurriculars, and just stuff you can do on the weekend with other students, it really blows everything else out of the water in my experience.
Hi, my name is Lola Bingham. I'm a senior also from Chicago, and I'm currently living in Johnson, where I've lived for most of my time here. Um, on campus, I'm a proctor. I'm an editor for the yearbook. I'm a physics peer tutor, and I play tennis. And I would say that I really loved Andover because of just like how diverse the community is, and how you could meet people from all over the country and world. And also the classes. I know the one class that really got me excited was an English class where everyone was just sitting around a round table and like really getting into the conversation. And it felt like more like they were just talking to like work through what the text meant rather than for a grade. And so for that, or for me, that was like the moment I kind of knew Andover was right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Owen Bay. I'm a senior from New York City. I'm living in Rockwell as a proctor. And on campus, I do debate, I play tennis, and I sing in chorus. I was drawn to Andover mostly because I wanted to grow and learn. And from what I had heard about Andover and getting to spend time on campus on revisit day and just knowing a couple of kids who had went there, I got to spend time with the community and it felt super welcoming. And that made me feel like I could see myself coming to Andover and growing a lot, which I think ultimately I did.
Hi everyone, I'm Kennedy Njai. I'm currently in 11th grade and I'm living in Bancroft. And home for me is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And on campus, my favorite things to do are play squash. I'm on the squash team and I'm a part of Students in Medicine Club. And I also really like theater. And I came to Andover to be academically challenged, to meet new people, and to have fun. Campus just looked really fun and classes are fun.
It is really fun here. I don't know, but I'm like kind of watching my background and I'm kind of like, I want to go out and play football with these guys. It looks really fun. Well, thank you guys. This is an awesome group. I know it's an awesome group because I admitted all of you and I read your applications and I know you guys are awesome. And as we were talking, we had a couple questions come in and one was about how many new lowers are there typically? And I'd like to kind of broaden that question to think more about what is it like to be a new lower coming into a school where there's a whole bunch of ninth graders who are returning. Maybe Lola, could you answer that question?
Yes, definitely. So I think there were around 75 my year. And I felt like it worked out really well in the beginning because they usually try to pair you with other new lowers. So I think there were about 6 of us in my dorm. So like right off the bat, you're doing orientation and you're like just getting to know everyone super well and going to meals together. And then you like slowly get to know the returning students by just like there's an ice cream social where you just meet a ton of people and you forget everyone's names and then you meet them again. And then I think just in classes and sports and activities, it's super easy just to like start talking to people. And I know I forgot everyone's names right away, but everyone's super friendly about it. And they like really want to get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. Ethan, where did you make where do you found like you were able to make friends on campus as a new 10th grader?
Yeah, for me, dorm life was it was huge. As a new lower, typically dorms are all the freshmen, and then you have all upperclassmen, including the lowers. And when I was a new lower. I came to Foxcroft with Mr. Dignard, and I was a roommate with another new lower. And all the other lowers coming to the dorm that were freshmen previously, they were all new. So they didn't really know those seniors or juniors too well. So we were all entering that dorm really without any expectations. So we all experienced that together. And so that was that played a huge role in kind of just making me feel comfortable. And then just meeting people through different activities, dorm life, proctors, they play such a huge role in every student's really residential life at Andover. My proctors my lower year, I grew really close to them. They're seniors usually. They inspired me to be a proctor, and I'm now one with Owen. And yeah, you meet so many people really quickly. And like Lola said, I'm not very strong with names myself. You just keep asking, and then you get to know them, and you pretty much become friends with everyone because everyone's really nice.
I think that building community in your dorm is really, really important. I think that's the place where you become closest with your peers and even the adults in that dorm, your house counselors. And I think that is like, as a residential community, we want you to call your dorm home, right? Watch out, football's coming in. And so, the residential piece is important too. But as I've been talking to a lot of kids, people want to know, like, how do the academics work? How do you transition into our academic program? Kennedy, do you want to talk a little bit about what that process looked like for you when you came in as a 10th grader?
Yes, I think something that helped me as I was transitioning were Andover support systems. So there's a study hall for math, study hall for whichever science that you're taking. There's an English writing workshop, and they were at night, so I could get my homework done in those study centers. And I just feel like you have a lot of support. Seniors in my dorm would also help me with homework and answer any questions I had. So support systems is a major thing.
Yeah, that support is so important, especially as when you're a new student. The first thing sometimes you want to do is go check out the course of study, and it'll take you like 3 hours to read that course of study because Andover offers 300 courses, right? You are not expected to know that course of study back and forth, because you'll be working with your adults in your life that will help you through choosing those courses. Owen, maybe you want to talk a little bit about your advisor, and especially like just the logistics of like what courses do you take as a 10th grader, and then how does that like look moving forward into 11th and 12th grade year?
Right. So your academic advisor is one of the most central people in your life because that's who you're going to go to with any questions. I know that my advisor, Dr. Kane, I asked him so many questions in the first term and year that I came to Andover. And in terms of classes, I think one of the great things about Andover is that there are so many different, not only courses, but like progressions. So for math, I think there are over like 55 different entry points that you can have, and then those all like diverge into different course sequences, and the Academy offers, or PA offers, a lot of different ways for you to come in and so that you feel the most comfortable, which I found really like, just like knowing that them telling us that made me feel a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also say this, if you're on this Zoom call right now, it's because a whole bunch of people who read your application were 100% certain that you would find success academically at Andover, right? You are here because you belong here, right? And then when you arrive here, there's a whole bunch of other people who help make sure that you make the most of this experience academically, residentially, everywhere else. Because, Owen, I like what you said at the beginning. You came to Andover because you wanted to grow, right? I like to think that nobody comes to Andover because it's easy. In fact, kids come to Andover because it is challenging. They recognize that through this rigorous academic program, they grow a lot, right? You become a better thinker. You become a better communicator. You become more creative, right? You learn how to lead, which is, at the end of the day, our goal as a school. We want to produce leaders who go out into the world and make it a better place. In order to do that, right, you're going to find a really rigorous academic program. Lola, can you talk a little bit about just the workload that you've experienced over your time at Andover and how you've maybe managed that?
Yeah, I would definitely say the workload is manageable. I feel like a lot of the times when you're starting out, you hear like horror stories from Andover. And it's like the only times I've actually struggled is when I procrastinated a ton. I think you kind of like figure out what levels you're in and like what classes you want to take. So you can be like, okay, I want to start out with an easier workload. I know my lower year, I took 5 classes and I loved them and I felt pretty comfortable with it. And then you can kind of like ramp it up a little bit more. But in general, the workload is manageable because like you're able to kind of communicate with your teachers a lot about it. I know if I ever spent like more than a couple hours on an assignment that I know I wasn't supposed to, I'd just talk to a teacher during conference, and like they're always super helpful either to teach you like how to do it more efficiently or to cut down the amount of workload. And also just like communicating with your classmates on like, okay, like is this taking this much time too, is definitely very efficient.
Yeah, just a little clarification. What's conference?
Oh, yes. So we have conference a couple times a week, which is periods where all your teachers are available to talk. And they'll talk with you about anything, whether it's a homework assignment or if like you're wondering about a problem you did wrong on a test, or if you just want to like chat with them about life. So it's definitely something you should take advantage of 100%. I know every time that I struggled in a class, I'd like go straight to conference, and like it always has helped. Like I don't know one teacher that hasn't been super helpful and like accommodating, and like there are some teachers also who like if you can't make it to conference hours, they'll just like find a random time during the day to talk to you. So conference is one of the best things I think at Andover because it's such an easy way to get one-on-one help.
Yeah, well, as I was asking that question, I started to realize like there's a lot of lingo on our campus, right? Like things that we all know we talk about that like anybody outside of our community wouldn't really know. And I have a question for you guys because this might reveal something interesting about our community. How long did it take you to learn all that lingo? At like what point in your time at Andover, you're like, I know what people are talking about. You don't have to like, what's that? Like, like all the little things. Like, when do you think you feel like, oh yeah, I got this, Ethan?
I know I haven't because yesterday I was walking with Miss Candelario and she said Stewart House and I got confused because I only know of a stew, and then it turns out it's actually the same thing, which I didn't know. So I'm clearly still behind, but.
Got it. Sorry, they were playing music, which I hate to tell them to turn the music off, but it was gonna get away with this. So while you're answering that, we had a few other questions come in, which are kind of related to that. Kendi, what are your favorite traditions or events at Andover?
I really like Andover Exeter Day. I don't play in the fall, but it's just a really fun day where there's so much food, and I like to go around and support the teams and cheer on my friends, and it's a really exciting tradition.
Yeah, like what was your favorite ever Andover Extra? Like, what's your favorite ever Andover Extra moment? You can remember one, because I have a whole bunch, but I'd love to hear yours.
Okay, yes, that's a tough question. I think I really like the football game. I like running around and screaming at the top of my lungs. But yeah, definitely, I'll never miss that football game. I'll always be there.
It's one of the oldest high school football rivalries in the country, believe it or not, which is kind of cool to think about. And so, Owen, let me ask you, because we have a few more questions coming in. The question I want to ask you, Owen, is, did you ever get homesick? And if so, like, how did you manage that?
Got homesick yesterday actually because I had spent the winter term at home with my family, and I got to spend a lot of time with my entire family, which doesn't happen often as my parents travel for work, and my brother and I are at boarding school, so we're not all together often. And I was sort of missing that when I was coming back. So I still do get a little homesick, but at the end of the day, you are surrounded by a huge support system. So that's your advising group, your house counselors, all your friends, your dorm hall, and there's always someone for you to talk to, I feel. And yeah, it's living in the moment, I guess.
Yeah, who do you talk to, Owen? Like yesterday when you were homesick, who'd you talk to?
Well, Ethan is 2 doors down the hall from me, so I got him and a couple other people in our hall, and I just hung out with them. It was really nice.
Yeah, it is nice. Nice. Ethan's a good dude. As I think about like those connections that are built over time, somebody asked a question: is, are you able to stay in the same dorm that you've like that you entered as a 10th grader? Maybe let's just go around and talk. Like, let's talk before this year. Like, what was your progression through housing at Andover? And let's start with, we'll go Lola, Ethan, Kennedy, Owen. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, I personally feel like I lucked out because I absolutely love Johnson. So I started here in a 2-room double my lower year, and that was super fun. And then we had the housing lottery, which takes place in the spring, where everyone kind of places their names and then they get like a list if they're going to move to other dorms, but then you can also choose to like squat and stay in your dorm. And then you're just kind of like shifting rooms. So then I was in another 2-room and double in Johnson, and I am in a 2-room again this year. So for me, it was pretty straightforward because I knew I wanted to stay here. And like all my friends were able to be here too.
Yeah, before Ethan, I don't know if people in this room know this, but I was actually the person that placed everyone into their dorm. So I hope you all liked your dorm and your roommates. Yeah, Kennedy, you liked yours. Ethan's roommate, he actually, the person I placed Ethan with is still living right next to him. And last year they lived together. I pride myself. I love it when I place 2 kids together and they stay together. Lola, I hope you really like your roommate too. Kennedy, do you like yours? Did you like yours?
Yeah, so my dorm is all singles, which is really interesting. There's 1 double, but it's nice because we all really hang out in the hall. But yes, I've also been with my neighbor, even the girl next to me, for my whole time at Andover.
Nice. Ethan, I know I just told your story, but let's hear it from you.
So like I said earlier, when I was a new lower, I got placed into Foxcroft with my roommate. And I quickly discovered that Fox had such a great community. And the kids that really were coming in there really rode out the rest of their time at Andover in the dorm. And so we all grew really close. And most of us have lived together for 3 years. And then the kids older than me, I lived with them for 2 years. And the dorm community is something you can't really find many other places. And as a proctor, my senior year, I proctored this fall in Foxcroft. And then with COVID, my fellow proctors and I, we decided, or the school asked if we could also relocate just to distribute. So now we're proctoring in Rockwell. And every dorm has a unique experience, but you can also bring those skills you learned from Foxcroft for me into Rockwell in my case. So yeah, every dorm is unique, but each one has its own community of great kids.
I was just muted there. Totally, yeah. Owen, do you want to, like, Owen's story is a little bit similar, Ethan, but a little bit different. I'd love to hear your take on your progression through Andover.
Yeah, so I was also placed as a new lower into Foxcroft and then stayed there for the next year. And now we are both in Rockwell. So pretty much the exact same progression. It's almost funny because Rockwell is typically a freshman boys dorm. So that's normally the first dorm you would end up in. And then you would end off in like a dorm like Foxcroft. So it's almost backwards. But I think overall, I agree with you, everything that Ethan said. There are a lot of people who I've known like around campus who are in Rockwell, but I haven't ever lived with because they've been at Foxcroft, and it's great to be able to like make new connections with them now that we are living in the same dorm. Right now we are still in a quarantine because we just arrived on campus, but I am looking forward to spending even more time with all of them.
And I think that so much of the connections that you have in the dorm are with your peers, but there's also a lot of adults that you become really close with. So when Owen was placed into, I'll tell a little story. Owen was placed into Foxcroft as a 10th grader, and as I'm telling the story, there's a whole group. Hey, everyone, say hello to all the new admitted 10th graders, okay? Say yes to Andover, right? So when Owen was a 10th grader, he actually lived right next to me, like literally right next to my apartment. And there's one morning where my wife, I live with my wife and we have a dog. And one morning my wife was getting ready for like a really important business meeting. And she had run out of contacts. And like, she has really bad eyesight. She needed contacts. So she was like, she was like, Pete, where are my contacts? Where are my contacts? And like, we're searching all over the place for them. Like 10 minutes later, someone knocks my door. And there was Owen, and he was like, Mr. Dignard, I know you guys need contacts. I have some extra, like, do these work? Which I think is a pretty cool story. Owen's a really nice guy. But anyway, it's just to say that like on this campus, you become really close and connect with a lot of different people. I know that you guys are all gonna say like I'm the best faculty member on campus, but let's leave me out of this. Can you talk a little bit about an adult on this campus that you have a really special connection with? I'd love to hear that. And let's just go around in that same order. Lola, Ethan, Kennedy, and Owen.
So for me, I have my house counselor is actually my advisor too, Dr. Marshall, who's a biology teacher here. And she is like one of my favorite people in the world. You know, like I started with her as a sophomore. And for me, I just feel like she was able to kind of recognize like when I was nervous and like when I was feeling homesick and like just pull me aside and chat. And like we'd pet her dogs or like go on a walk with the dogs. And like talk with her daughter. So it was just like a lot of bonding experiences that are happening like every day with your adults on campus. And I feel like just by having conversations together, we've had a lot of fun. And also I think when you're living in the dorm, just naturally with the house counselors, like you're always interacting, you're like, you'll go into the room to bake cookies or you'll have a movie night together. So I definitely have loved my experience with Dr. M.
Like Lola said, the house counselors naturally you grow a pretty close relationship with. And other than Mr. Dignard, who I've had lived with for 3 years, my primary house counselor, Mr. O'Reilly, we were both new to Andover the same year. I was a new lower, he was a teaching fellow, and he was a trainer in athletics. And so we both kind of shared that unfamiliar experience, but he was also like, he was such a role model for me because I was really I was just uncomfortable because it's a new place. It's really challenging, but they really watch you grow and they guide you every step of the way. And although I have many memories of Mr. O'Reilly over the past 3 years, one in particular is I remember exam week my lower year. I will admit I was having a little rough, and he came in and he had heard me mention I love like core watermelon waters. It's just watermelon flavored water. And he came in with 3 of them. He's like, here you go, bud. And he left. And when I tell you that was amazing, it was. And you just really get to know them. And even over the summer, we speak often. He checks in. And it's just a really special relationship between you and a faculty member. So yeah.
One adult that has made a really big impact on my life at Andover is Miss Malik. She's my advisor and my house counselor. And today she brought us Starbucks and we're in quarantine. But what's really cool about the student-teacher relationships is that you really get to know, you feel like you really get to know them, they really get to know you. I feel like I know her entire family, and then like faculty pets are really cool on campus too. Like you see the dogs, when you get to, if you get to like be in their houses. I bake a lot with my neighbor in my dorm and in Miss Malik's kitchen, and then we eat together, and Yeah, she's someone that is really always there for me, whether that's on text or whether that's me knocking on her door. But the relationships are so special.
Like Ethan, I'd say that I grew pretty close to all the house counselors at Foxcroft, but to not be too repetitive, I'm going to just say my advisor, Dr. Kane, who is my point person and academic advisor, and he is super witty, very funny, and if I ever have a question, he normally knows it, but if he doesn't, he gets back to me like almost immediately, and it's always good to see him check in once a week, and yeah, he just makes me feel super comfortable on campus.
Yeah, you guys just named 4 of my favorite people on campus too. They're all awesome. And so let's break this up with just like some like popcorn questions, so like easy ones, okay? First question is, how do you get to and from campus when you fly in? Lola, you definitely fly in, right?
Yes. So I use a car service. We've been using the same place for most of the time. So like my mom does it. She just texts them and they get all set up, and you can travel with friends, like if you set it up that way. Or yeah.
Totally. That's perfect. We had a couple other kind of small questions. Let's say, Ethan, is there like specific times when you need to wake up and go to sleep in the dorms?
There aren't any hard set wake up or go to bed times in upperclassmen dorms, but I will say that having a schedule will definitely improve your quality of life and academic performance. In my lower year, I was all over the place, and it was a struggle. And I decided to just start tracking my sleep and making sure I wake up around the same time. Don't stay up too late, because it gets to a point, if you're up too late, you're just not going to be productive. So just making sure you are really conscious of your sleep is a huge part of being successful at Andover. With that, and I'm sure everyone else can agree, sleep is so important, and staying up and just pulling all-nighters will hurt you.
Agreed. Got to get that sleep, right? You need sleep and you need food. Kennedy, tell us about Commons. What's the food like?
Yes, the food is really good. There are so many options. I think there's always a salad bar. There's breakfast is my favorite, but my ultimate favorite is the Thai non-chicken flatbread. I just feel like it's so varied and it's exciting. Yeah, and then aside from that, there's food almost everywhere else on campus too. Yeah.
Food is always important. Owen, what's the weather like here? That's a tough one, because we have 4 seasons, but let's take us through a progression of fall, winter, and spring. Okay.
So early on in the fall, when you first like move into campus, it's going to be sweltering hot, and it's always unsettling, even like though it's been summertime for a long time. But after 1 or 2 weeks, you get used to it. The school gives you fans. You can't see it right now, but I have one hooked up to my window right now. That really helps. There's a large period in between the fall and the winter where the weather is just really gorgeous. That's my favorite time of the year, probably. And then of course, New England winters are famous for their chill. And I think at Andover, we have a really weird streak over the past few years of winter coming and going, especially towards the latter half, where it'll stop snowing, the sun will come out, the ice will completely thaw, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, like it'll happen all over again. That'll happen like 2 or 3 times. But then
don't jinx us, Owen. Owen, do not jinx us. We got something good going on right now. Look at this. This is the first time. Keep going. Sorry.
We actually do have a little bit of snow. Mr. Dignard actually took Ethan and I and a bunch of our friends on a walk earlier today, and we found like just I think what is the last patch of snow on campus hiding underneath like a tree grove, which we thought was super cool. And coming up, hopefully, is the spring, where we'll get a lot warmer. We can go outside without having to wear jackets, although it is pretty warm now. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things is when it gets really warm in the spring. I'm gonna move my camera. Can somebody just talk about what this lawn would look like if it was nice outside right now? Like, can somebody just set the scene for what it will look like when it's nice outside? What that lawn looks like? Ethan, let's hear it.
So I'd have my hammock up first thing in the morning, and I'd probably just do my work there. And then you have kids throwing a football, soccer, frisbee, towels out, sunbathing, music, spike ball. I mean, really anything you can think of. It's you've got there's a lot of space, and there are always a bunch of people that you can hang out with, talk to, and just have a good time, relax. And spring term exam week, everyone is almost always out there because it's nice, it's calming, and you can still do your work.
Okay, like today, like as we were walking around, there were a lot of people out and about, which is it was really nice to see. We've been really lucky with this weather. All right, so a few other questions have come in. Lola, can you tell us about the cluster system? What's that all about?
Yes, so we have 5 clusters, which is West Quad South, West Quad North, Abbott, Flagstaff, and Pine Knoll. And each one kind of has a different vibe on campus. I'm in West Quad South, and I think we're the best. But for clusters, you're assigned that based on your dorm, or day students are also assigned a cluster. And I think one of the best parts about cluster is we have weekly cluster muncheons on Wednesday, where they give snacks and like common space, and everyone just goes and hangs out. We have like people playing Mario Kart when we go, or like Jenga, and like, I don't know, I love it because they have ice cream sandwiches every once in a while, and that's my absolute favorite.
People always want to know, like, how do they choose the clusters? And it's pretty easy. Like at the beginning of every year, we all get together in the chapel, and then all the new students, one by one, go up to the front of the chapel. They put on a hat, and that hat says, come on, anyone reads Harry Potter, right? Y'all know, I'm kidding. But if I will say, if Andover was like Hogwarts, Flagstaff is definitely Gryffindor. Some people might disagree with that, though. I think Flagstaff's Gryffindor. I'm kidding. Thanks, Lola. I appreciate that. Ethan, I have a question for you. What's the thing that's changed most about you? Like, how have you grown the most in your time at Andover, would you say? That's kind of a big question, I know, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I've definitely changed a lot as a person. I mean, maturity wise, obviously I've matured loads, but also I think I've come to appreciate how much how much of a role kindness can play in someone's day. Just a simple like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Can spark a conversation with someone you might not have spoken to, maybe you don't even know them, or someone you speak to every day. And at Andover, where work is challenging, sometimes that is really all you need to really get you going and kickstart your day. And that's something I don't think I realized before coming, because as soon as you arrive, like I said earlier, you really do quickly realize how nice everyone is, and they want to work with you. They want to strive with you. And when you grow, your peers grow. So yeah, I think kindness has just really become the something I've really understood much better.
I really appreciate you saying that, Ethan, because I think the same thing about the community. This is a place where when you're successful, your classmates are successful. Like oftentimes you hear that, and when I talk with a lot of people, they say Andover is competitive. It's a selective school. We choose kids that we think are the right fit for our school. so that when they arrive on our campus, they don't compete with each other, they work with each other, right? And because we are such a diverse community, you recognize quickly when you arrive here, you can't be the best at everything. And when you work with others, you grow so much more. And so I really appreciate you saying that. And maybe it says my internet connection is unstable, so hopefully I don't get cut out here. But while I'm figuring that out, Kennedy and Owen, I would love to hear from both of you. What have been your favorite classes? Like pick one favorite class. Why has it been your favorite class on campus? Kennedy first and then Owen.
Okay, my favorite class was this theater class that I took. It was titled Identity, and it was a mix of a lot of things, but the teachers were really cool. So we would write, and then we would also perform. And because of the small class size, I felt like it was a one-term class, but I really got to know everyone in the class and listen to their stories from each class. And it changed my perspective on a lot of things, but that theater class.
For me, it was probably an electronics elective that I took last year. It was taught by Clive Beckwith, and he was the only teacher that I've ever had who insisted on all of his students calling him by his first name, so we all called him Clive. And he was just a super understanding, super kind, thoughtful guy. If any student felt like overwhelmed, like in the course, like there was a lot of reading, we could simply like say to him like, oh, I like feel really overwhelmed right now. And he said, okay, we can push this like back a few days or even a week if you needed. And that just really helped, like, I think everyone in the class just like absorb the material a lot better because there was no stress, that you could take your time to understand each of the concepts. It was really cool because we got to pretty much do lab work the entire, like every single class. And it's something that I want to look into in college too. And I think that's largely because of that course.
Yeah, Clive is awesome. I'm glad you're able to have a class with him. So we've been on the Zoom call now for 42 minutes. And I'd love to maybe do another like round of everybody answer the same question. The first question I have is this: what are you most proud about? You think about your time at Andover so far. What are you most proud about from your time here? And I think that's an important question because we live in a world where we're always focused on like, what is next, what is next, what is next, right? But sometimes you have to sit back and think about, what have I accomplished here? And I want everybody who's listening right now in on this to think about what they're most proud about that they've accomplished at their current school. Think about what it is you want to accomplish at Andover, right? And I'd love to hear from you guys what you were most proud about from your time here. Lola, you got the short end of the stick every single time, but you're doing great. So I just keep going back to you.
All right, I got it. I think for me, it's definitely been figuring out how to connect with people in like ways I typically wouldn't have, or like being more extroverted in that sense, because I'm typically more of an introvert. I feel like my first year I was kind of like more nervous, like reserved with connecting with people. And then kind of as I went on, like I started being able to notice when other people were acting like that way, and figuring out like how to like talk to them one-on-one and be like, oh, hey, come join us, or like just seeing like someone walk by and be like, oh yeah, you need to come hang out with us. And I feel like that's one of the parts of my personality now that I'm most proud of, because I feel like it makes me much happier, and I feel like I'm able to kind of connect and make new friends because of that too.
That's awesome, Lola. I'm proud of you for that too. I'm proud of all of you guys, by the way. Ethan, you're up.
I'd have to agree with Lola on exactly what she said, watching my character grow, but also I think watching myself grow as a student has been really rewarding, especially now that I'm a senior. I'm in my last term of Andover, and I've really had time to reflect. Coming in, I saw someone asking about students and like the consistency of your grades as you transfer. from your previous school to Andover. I was a pretty good student in my old school, and when I came, I definitely struggled for a bit. I was doing well, but not really up to what I wanted, how I wanted to be performing. And really watching, like I said, I began to understand how to be the most productive I can and enjoy the Andover experience and seize every moment between sleep, really planning out your day and being the most productive I can be. I've seen really everything improve between my academics, my really, like I said, quality of life, and just everything in general. So watching myself mature in that way has been super rewarding. And I know for a fact that the skills I learned the past 3 years will certainly apply to college and then definitely to my professional life as well.
Ethan, I thought you were saying you agree, like that's what you were most proud of Lola about as well.
Oh, no. I agree. Watch myself go socially, like she said.
Kennedy, by the way, I've seen that growth too, Owen, and it's awesome to see. But Kennedy, let's hear what you're most proud of from your over your time here.
As a period of time, I'm most proud of my first winter at Andover. I was playing squash, so I learned a lot of really important skills about time management and, as Ethan was saying, balance and balancing that time with friends, with with studying and doing homework on the bus, and then hanging out with friends after. So I'm just proud of what I was able to learn because of the environment that I was in.
Yeah, totally. That's pretty cool. Like to grow the most during winter says a lot, Kennedy, because that sometimes people think that's the hardest term because it's a little bit colder, but it's cool how you persevered through all of that. And came out better. It goes to the whole thing that like you come here and you're challenged, but you grow through that. Owen, what about you? Let's, you started this whole thing by saying you came to Andover to grow. Now thinking back, like, what are you most proud of at your time here?
I think the thing I'm most proud of is, okay, so one of the first pieces of advice and best piece of advice, and if I could only give everyone one piece of advice moving forward, it'd be try everything. Like even if you're scared to do it or you've never done anything like it or you think you're out of your depth, just sign up for it, go to it, try it out. And that's something that I think I did pretty well and I'm super proud of. So I tried crew my first term on campus. I took a drawing class and I'm not a good drawer, but I still really enjoyed it anyway. I worked at an animal shelter, which was super fun, and I think I'm going to do it again in the future. But I think like the lesson that I was told from that piece of advice ultimately by another student was you really get as much out of Andover as what you put into it in terms of effort. So if you give Andover your all, you try so many new things, you do your best to meet everyone, your experience and just how much you're able to do during your time there just grows like exponentially.
Owen, you can see into the future because you were able to answer that question while also answering the next question I was going to ask. Because the next question I was going to ask is, what advice would you give to all the kids who are sitting here right now thinking, should I come to Andover next year? What advice would you give them as they go through this process, right? And that was kind of advice for like coming to Andover. So you can come back at the end if you have any advice for the kids who are in that situation right now and they're thinking through this process. But Lola, back to you. Like, do you have any advice for all the kids out here, all the newly admitted students?
For choosing Andover or for being Andover students?
Like, remember on, let's say, March 25th, 2000 and was it 18 or 19?
18. 18.
What advice would you give to yourself on that day about this whole process, however it is, however you interpret that?
I mean, I think just kind of like be confident about it. I feel like the times that I struggled most were because like I didn't think I could do it. And like I know fake it till you make it is like never something you want to do, but like it's really things are a lot easier than they seem coming in. I know like the first week I was terrified because it seemed like people knew each other and like all the classes seemed like more advanced than the things I had been doing. And then I realized like when I was a month in, I was like, okay, this is not bad at all. Like this is completely manageable. And then kind of once you get to that point, like figuring out like what you're gonna do for fun and like also making it sure you're like limiting your social, not social, your academic experience by like doing every social thing you can because like you only have 3 years, so you have to make them count.
Absolutely. You got to make all this time count. I'll tell you all that much. And if last year has taught us anything too, that is certainly the case. We have to be grateful for all these experiences that we have. Ethan, any advice for everyone out there, or maybe for your younger self?
Yeah, I think I would have just told myself and you all, you don't know unless you try. I applied to be challenged. I applied for new experiences and to grow as a person, rather than just kind of stay where I was as a person, and as a student. So really take that leap, be confident, and if you aren't confident, you'll learn from it. Make mistakes, and then the next time around, you'll do better than you did the first time. So yeah, just really go for it. And that not only goes for coming to Andover, but everything you do as a student while you're here, and then everything after. You really just have to learn from your mistakes and go for it. Take the jump.
I like that, Ethan. Kennedy, what advice do you have?
I don't want to say research, but I remember when I was in that position, I like Instagram. So I would go through Instagram and follow different accounts. So I follow Andover Admissions or the girl squash account so that I could really see what they were doing and what different students were doing. So I think social media could give you good insight.
I like that, right? And by the way, and I'll talk about this later, anybody who needs to connect with kids on campus, let me know. I will make it happen, okay? Owen, what advice do you have?
It's another piece of advice I would say is actually, I'm gonna tell a quick story. So back when I was still in New York, at a school in New York, Mr. Dignard actually came to visit my school, which I thought was really cool because Andover was one of the boarding schools that I wanted to apply to, and my school was super small, so I hadn't really expected someone to come out and speak to us. And while we were sitting all like in an assembly and he was up at the podium, he started talking about like what are the most important criteria the admissions office looks for in students. And I thought, oh, it's going to be like a perfect SSAT score or the best grades. And then he just said the word nice. And I was utterly flabbergasted because I am a very literal person and I do better in like STEM classes. And I'm like, you can't quantify that. But when I came to Andover and I sort of got to meet people in the community, like every single person that I met was just super, super kind, super thoughtful, super enthusiastic about being there, passionate about something they loved, always willing to talk about it and share it with you. And that's probably my favorite thing about Andover. So yeah.
I love that. I love that, Owen. Full circle, right? And again, just I hope everybody who's listening out there can see that this school is full of really, really nice kids, and we've chosen you because you are nice. While everyone was talking, I texted Owen. I messaged Owen for the advice to just say yes to Andover, but he didn't see it. That's what I wanted his advice to be. But I like that you did better. Oh, that was like way better than a stupid joke that I was trying to do. First off, thank you guys so much. You've been really great. And if you hold on for 1 second, the last thing I want to say is just, myself and my colleagues in the admission office, we really care about the school and really care about this process. And we put a lot of time and effort and thought into selecting the kids that we think are the best fit for our school. And after that March 10th date, we make it our jobs to help be a resource for you in any way that we can, right? So whenever you have questions, please email me, call me. We can set up a Zoom call, whatever it is, I am there, okay? Whether it's like a simple logistical question or like a really big question, I want to help you in this process. And what I'll say too is that it's not just from now until April 10th, it's from now until when you arrive on campus, because I will be the first person to say hello when you arrive on our campus in the fall, if you so choose to enroll in September. The final thing I'll say is that on our website, when you do say, if you choose to say yes to Andover, there's the newly admitted website. There's a little checklist of things to do in order to say yes to Andover. If you've already said yes or you plan on saying yes and you haven't done that checklist, please, please, please do it because there's a surprise at the end, okay? And you'll see what I mean. So go to that website and click all those boxes. But thank you all again. I hope this has been helpful. And please be in touch if there's anything else you need. And here's a last look at our campus for all those who are interested. One more time, say goodbye and good night, okay? Bye, everyone.